Hare Krishna. Welcome back to my channel. I am Radhika Pyari Devidasi and today I am going to share with you the significance of Damodar Lila. Little bit in brief, I will be also discussing with you the pastime of Damodar and also the significance of this month. So Krishna appears in Vrindavan to demonstrate the power of pure love. He appears to show that how Vrindavan is devoid of any conception of his supreme majesty or awe and reverence. So, because he was bound by a rope around his abdomen, that is why the Supreme Lord in his baby form is called as Damodar. This pastime happened in Vrindavan, that one of the days when all the gopis were busy doing the household work in Nand Baba's or Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Maiya's place. Yashoda Maiya was also churning the yogurt so she can get butter out of it, which she wanted to make for Krishna. So she was churning the yogurt so that butter comes out, and at that time Krishna seeked her attention. So he demanded actually her attention. He started, pulling her sari, and then he started asking for her milk. Yashoda Maiya, without any delay, she immediately picked up Krishna and she started giving him her milk. That is the quality of a pure devotee or a Nitya Siddha, that as soon as the Lord desires, the pure devotee right away understands the heart of the Lord and is ready to be in the service of the Supreme Lord. So Yashoda Maiya right away took Krishna and she started feeding him. But what happened was, inside the house, she had kept on a pot or a pan, you can say, milk for boiling. So the milk actually started boiling because it was on heat and it was on the verge of spilling. So as soon as Yashoda Maiya saw that, she just for few seconds or just for like 30 seconds or something like that, she lifted up Krishna and she put him down and she went inside to attend the milk so that it doesn't spill. Because that service was interrupted, Krishna wanted actually the attention of Yashoda Maiya. He wanted the service from her. He wanted that loving exchange with her. So he started like a regular baby. How if the thirst for the milk is not satisfied, the baby starts crying again. So Krishna also started getting angry and he was throwing tantrums and he got mad at Yashoda Maiya that she left him in between. So he's calling for her, but she had to attend that. So actually started. He actually broke that pot which she was churning for making the butter. So he broke that, and then he went inside a room, and there butter was actually made, and it was like a pile of like nice butter on the top. It was hanging. What he did was he took the ulukala. Now ulukala is actually a grinding mortar which is used to grind spices. In the old times, they would grind the spices with hand, and this ulukala would be used. So he turned it upside down and he climbed on it and he broke the pot and he started eating butter which was made. Even though, of course, it was made for Krishna, but Yashoda Maiya would have given him only. But the thing is, he wanted to enhance the pastime, so and get that loving reciprocation. So he actually broke that pot and started eating, and also he started feeding the monkeys there. Now what happened that Yashoda Maiya saw she actually came back after attending the milk. She removed the milk from the fire and she came out and she saw that the churning that pot where she was churning the yogurt for making the butter, that was broken. So she understood right away that this was Krishna's doing. Somewhere she was smiling, that at the same time she was like a little bit having the transcendental anger. So she took a stick in her hand, and just to scare Krishna, she went looking for him with the stick because he kind of did a mischief. So she wanted to chastise him. So she left looking for him, and then she found him in the room, and she saw on top of that he was feeding the monkeys all the butter. So Yashoda Maiya got this anger and she displayed that anger and she started running behind Krishna. Now when she started running behind Krishna, Krishna also ran. So you know how a small baby, when the mother is about to chastise him or her, and they know that they are going to be in trouble, they start running for their life. So similar manner, because the Supreme Lord and he's enacting the pastime of a baby, and he acted in a perfect manner as a baby and started running and for his life. And Yashoda Maiya was running behind him, and then he was so scared. But Yashoda Maiya finally caught him, and she caught him, and he showed that how scared he was. So Krishna got scared and he started rubbing his eyes, like, because there was ointment on his eyes and all the cosmetics which were applied to him. So he got scared and all the mascara was falling and the kajal was falling from his eyes. He was rubbing his eyes like that. He was scared. You can see the, like, that fear was there. So now Yashoda Maiya saw that and actually wanted to tie him. Now here there are many things to understand for us. First of all, there are the gnanis and the gyanis and the yogis who are doing years and years of austerities and penances in their life to actually know who the Supreme Lord is, or to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they are unsuccessful in their attempt. Because just by their own self power of meditation, penances, austerities, they are thinking that they will be able to approach the Lord. But the Lord's potencies are so inconceivable and they are so limitless that it is not possible actually um, to really capture or approach God in that manner. So, being such austere individuals, but still they are not able to approach Lord. But just because of our pure devotional service and pure transcendental love and untinged or uncontaminated love for the Supreme Lord, Yashoda Maiya was able to catch Krishna. She was able to catch Krishna within minutes. And the other thing is that Krishna uh, in Vrindavana, that is why it is said that in Vrindavan the majesty or the supreme majesty, the power of this awe and reverence doesn't exist, because he doesn't like to be called as God there. Krishna is time factor himself. He is actually Kala himself and he is above time. But when it comes to Vrindavan, like his home, he loves to renounce all these supreme majesty or all these qualities about him, because because he's a supreme controller. He likes to be controlled by his pure devotees in Vrindavan. Now, what does this mean? That there are many things which we see about Krishna in this particular act or this pastime, and the one who is not a sadhaka or the one who is not a devotee, they would start thinking that how someone who is Bhagavan or who is a Supreme Lord, how can they have this quality or this kind of habits or this kind of nature where they do not have control over themselves. So now in the Shastras it is explained that Krishna or the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Atma Raman. Atma Raman means one who is self-satisfied. But what does Krishna do? In Vrindavan, when he is in Vrindavan, he renounces that quality of Atma Raman. How? He actually doesn't need anything, self-satisfied, but he demands satisfaction from Yashoda Maiya, so that she gives him the milk of her breast. That's one of the thing. The second thing is that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachati. So you offer me a fruit, flower, leaf, or any small thing, like, and I will be satisfied with that. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. He's just satisfied with any simple offering, provided it is made with love. But here, if you see that Yashoda Maiya had already given him milk and she left for some minutes, so he got mad and he was not satisfied. He still wanted more. So that quality of being satisfied with very little things, that quality is also renounced by Krishna in Vrindavan. Then the third thing is Krishna getting angry. Lord Damodar getting angry. Now, Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, it's in many other places, it's said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Nirguna, or Nirguna means one who is not affected by the material modes, the three modes of nature. And which are the three modes? They are Sattva Gun, they are Rajagun, and they are Tamasa Gun. So, being angry is actually one of the Rajasic gun, which also sometimes drags a person to go to the Tamas gun. But Krishna has that quality that he is actually above it. He is actually above it. But what does he do? Krishna displays his anger and shows that how he is renouncing that nirguna, or being above the three modes or three guna, that quality also. Krishna is known as Lakshmipati. Okay, here what Krishna is doing as Damodar, he is actually stealing. Even though everything is meant for him, but still he's stealing. He loves stealing. He has the pleasure of stealing. This is actually called the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Lord, where there is a quality we know from the scriptures. At the same time, there is a mellow of love where he renounces all these qualities. That is the supremacy of love. So now what here he is doing is that Lakshmipati, the goddess of fortune, she has the Aishwarya, she has everything, and Krishna is her lord, Vishnu. Krishna is Supreme Vishnu, and he is her lord, and he is actually having everything. He doesn't need anything. But what happens here is that even though being Lakshmipati, or the possessor of all wealth and everything, he still wants to steal butter. So here he is renouncing that quality of being Lakshmipati. Now after this, uh, Krishna, even if you, one of the qualities of him is that, like Abhay Charan, like anyone who goes to his lotus feet, the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, he will become completely fearless. So, fearlessness is the quality of the Supreme Lord. But what happens here? Just because Mother Yashoda is going to chastise him, he gets scared. He gets scared of her, and he's showing all the symptoms of fear, being caught by Mother Yashoda and being in the fear that he is going to get chastised. So here he is renouncing the supremacy, or the supreme majestic quality of being fearless in Vrindavan. So this is how the Supreme Lord, who is actually the Supreme Controller, on because of his own desire, because he desires and he wants to have that loving exchange with his pure devotees, he decides to renounce all those supreme majestic qualities and act as a, like a normal child, so that mellow of love remains. So now what happens is that Mother Yashoda, now when she is seeing Krishna so scared, so she decides to bind him, like to bind him with a rope around the motor, like so put him against the motor and then bind him. Now why she's doing that? She's not doing this because she's really angry at him and she wants to, like, chastise him. It's because there are so many incidences which happen in Vrindavan towards Krishna, and she wants to always protect him. So she actually gets scared that if Krishna is so fearful of me, then he is going to leave. So he's going to leave the place and then he's going to go somewhere which cannot be safe for him. So she wanted to make sure, because she had so much household duties she had to fulfill and the other gopis were busy. So she decides to bind him. Now what happens is that she brings the rope and then she decides that now I'm going to bind you, like I'm going to control you. That's what she is thinking. So she's deciding to actually bind Krishna. Now what happens is that somewhere Yashoda Maiya she's thinking that with her strength she's going to be able to bind Krishna. Of course out of love, but she's thinking by her strength she's going to do that. So now here Krishna is not showing, it's not when Krishna is actually teaching something to his pure devotees, through his pure devotees, actually that is lesson for us because we are conditioned souls. So he's trying to show it to us through his pure devotee, that how he cannot be controlled. So here he's displaying that how he cannot be binded like that, he cannot be bound like that. So Yashoda Maiya, when she brings the rope, she tries to bind him, like turning it around the abdomen, and the rope falls 2 fingers short, the width of 2 fingers short. So she gets confused. Krishna is so little and the rope is, kind of long enough. Why it's not happening? But then she doesn't give much thought to it, and she decides to get other rope. Then other rope she tries to tie it with a rope, and then she tries to bind him again. And same happens. The rope becomes 2 fingers short, the width of 2 fingers short. She gets kind of a little confused. Then she the gopis who are seeing them doing this kind of pastime, this leela, they get very interested because they're always interested in Krishna, and whatever is happening, it's kind of making them feel more interested. So they start watching Krishna and Yashoda Maiya, what is happening. So they start helping Yashoda Maiya, and they start bringing the rope from the household one by one. And every time Yashoda Maiya is extending the rope with another rope, still it is falling short. So now what happens is that Yashoda Maiya kind of becomes astonished that what is here happening? Wait here. Like really, what is happening? Why is this falling 2 fingers short? And then she started using her logic more, and then all the gopis also. So now what happens here is that as soon as she starts thinking like this, so first Krishna, what did he do? He showed his vibhuti or his potency, that Mother Yashoda, you cannot bind me like that. You cannot bound me with any kind of rope. Now what happens, as soon as she is kind of becoming a little bit aware, and that love is kind of shifting, and she's kind of getting into that awe and reverence, right away Krishna puts the curtain of veil of Yog Maya. Now this Yog Maya potency of the Lord is such that it is used on the pure devotees. So the pure devotees are always under this potency of Yog Maya, where they cannot see, even if they see the supremacy of Krishna, they still do not want to accept it, and it just doesn't get in them that Krishna can be God. So that is the Yogmaya potency of the Lord, which is actually like a kind of a curtain which covers that awe and reverence, that supremacy of Lord, and still shows that innocent part of, yeah, so that the loving exchange or the loving form can be maintained. So what happens here, as soon as Yashoda Maiya like kind of starts getting astonished, and Krishna reveals that thing that, okay, no, he actually allows her to bind her. Now what happens here is that, first of all, Yashoda Maiya tried from all the sides, all her effort to bind Krishna. Now this binding of Krishna is actually, she's trying to tie him in the rope of love. Okay, so she tried from every angle and it is not happening. So she was at the point where she was trying to give up. She tried from all sides, and then she was trying to give up that thing. So as soon as Krishna saw that she attempted from her side everything, and now she's giving up, so he got merciful towards her. So he actually saw her pure devotional service. He actually saw her love for him, and because of her endeavors, he got pleased of her, and he showed his causeless mercy. And this is the reason why Krishna Maiya was able to tie him, and Krishna allowed that. So when he saw that how much love Yashoda Maiya is putting into kind of binding him or kind of tying him with the rope, actually in her love, Krishna actually got very pleased with her, and he decided to allow her to tie him. Now here what happens is that, being the supreme controller, he knows that no one can control him. But just so that the pastime or the Leela can be enhanced, or the loving exchange can be experienced more, that is why Krishna allows his devotees to control him. Now this 2 finger shot which we see, it's actually, there are a lot of commentaries about this 2 finger shot, what does it mean? But one of the famous commentary about this 2 finger shot is that first finger is that a sadhaka's or a devotee's endeavor, and the second finger is Krishna's grace or Krishna's blessings or Krishna's mercy, causeless mercy. So the first finger is actually when a sadhaka, how much effort he or she is putting into performing devotional service. Devotional service in the sense to remain Krishna conscious. How much endeavor a sadhaka is making to remain Krishna conscious, to bring Krishna to their heart. So that is the first grace. Now many times there is a misunderstanding that when we do this, when we do that, or this kind of thing, Krishna, I'll get Krishna bhakti, or something like that. But what happens is that Krishna's grace is not because of our effort. Of course the effort is there, but until and unless it is not being sanctioned by Krishna's grace or mercy, we would not get that kripa. So it is actually not our endeavor, it is not really something we are doing because we want to do. It's actually Krishna allowing us to do what we are attempting to do for his pleasure. So these two short fingers actually means that one finger represents our endeavor, our complete surrender and endeavor to please Krishna, and the second finger is Krishna's approval, Krishna's causeless mercy to grace that particular endeavor and finally allow us to bring him to our heart. So in this month of Kartik, the reason why we meditate on this Damodar Lila is because this Leela describes and it actually focuses a lot about pure devotional service. It focuses on pure transcendental love, and also it focuses on how, in order to have Krishna in our heart or recite Krishna in our heart, that that supreme majesty, that awe and reverence thing has to be out. Because where there is pure devotional service or where there is pure love, there is no place actually for this kind of awe and reverence. So this is what the topmost love of Vrindavan teaches all of us. Of course, as Vaidhi sadhakas, we have to practice regulative things in order to develop that spontaneity in us. So what happens is that when we do this Vaidhi sadhana or this regulative principles, we follow them and we practices we do, eventually with our sincere endeavors, with our sincere sadhana, we develop taste for it. And when we develop taste, instead of it becoming a ritual, it becomes a spontaneous action. It just becomes like how when we wake up in the morning, if we want to brush our teeth, or going out of the house, if we are wearing shoes, we want to tie our lace. It just becomes that kind of spontaneous thing because it is actually part of our nature. Loving God is part of our nature. So we have just forgotten that. So what we are doing is that the tendency which is there, we are just trying to rekindle that, like re-spark that particular thing. So that is why when we offer a ghee lamp in front of Lord Damodar and Mother Yashoda, we are actually meditating on this pastime. We are actually meditating on the glories of Yashoda Maya, because through this pastime, what Krishna wanted to do, majorly he wanted to glorify his pure devotee. He wanted to glorify the pure love of his Nitya Siddha Bhakta, which is Yashoda Maya. The love which he has and the love which she was displaying, he wanted to glorify that. And how beautifully she actually captured Krishna in her heart. So this is what this Damodar month is actually glorifying. This is what, when we are offering the ghee lamp in front of the Lord, we are praying to Krishna that Krishna, please allow us to have that same love, or at least allow us to have that drop of that same love which Yashoda Maya has for you, and please enter our heart so our heart also becomes soft like butter. So this is what I wanted to share with you on this Damodar Lila, and also the significance of it. Anyone who actually offers a ghee lamp and in front of Lord Damodar in this month, it is very, very auspicious. Especially it is very auspicious for one who is wanting to progress on the path of bhakti and find their residence in the spiritual world, especially in Golok Dham. So thank you so much for watching. Coming few days later, there is Ekadashi, so I'll be coming up with the Ekadashi story too. So stay tuned with it. Thank you so much for watching. Hare Krishna.